I kind of suppose if it was entirely left up to us, what we consider in the Lord, so to speak, consider the Lord's words, that would also mean we'd have control over what the Lord said, or says. But we don't, Lord spoke. We have it recorded, some of it. And what's pertinent, at least, what's necessary, at least. But, so we got no control. I don't anyway. You just brought to consider what you consider. Just thank the Lord. So I was considering today, I made a little video before. By the way, that little anecdote I told about the guy doing the turkey gobble, that was more like 50 years ago. I realized it. That was back in like 75. So almost 50 years ago. Chasing girls, And this guy gives it away by gobbling like a turkey. Just ruined every chance, every opportunity. But anyway, you'd have to watch that to even understand the story. But, and speaking of stories, so I'm considering what the Lord was saying in that story about Lazarus and the rich man. How that Lazarus died and was carried to Abraham's bosom, and the rich man, he finds himself in a very hot place, pleading, that Lazarus would just touch his lips with a little water, give him a little relief, and then Abraham says, there's a great gulf between you and I, or between us and you. And no one can pass from here to there to here. And so, it goes on. The rich man pleads that, at least send someone back to warn my brothers, about how to be, so that they don't have to come to this place. And Abraham, I believe it's Abraham, says, they have Moses and the prophets. If they don't believe them, neither will they believe one who came back from the dead. Which is a pretty strong statement, It bears its own consideration. Because if we don't see the righteousness of the law and in the prophets speaking, then not seeing any righteousness doesn't matter how many miracles we see if we don't apprehend the righteousness of God. Miracles are not going to give us or do for us the things we often think they would. If I really saw something amazing, then I'd really believe. No, it's the conviction of righteousness. God's righteousness that causes us to plead, beg for mercy. The righteousness of God. So I was thinking about that because, the story kind of starts, doesn't it? And please correct me, man, because I don't have my Bible in front of me. But if I remember it, Lazarus was a poor guy that sat at the gate every day or laid at the gate. His sores were open so that even the dogs licked his sores, And the rich man, he lived kind of sumptuously. Doesn't say that he was, does it? I don't think it really even points out a great wickedness. Just that he was a rich man. And that Lazarus was carried to the bosom of Abraham. And the explanation was given to the guy, the rich fella. He says, you had all your pleasures in life, and Lazarus, who suffered in life, is now getting comforted, and you're where you are. There's no mention there, really, of faith in the sense we'd think of it. So, thinking about that, the story. Is it a nice story? I don't know, the poor guy, he gets rewarded. The rich guy, he gets punished. But the thing is, as you think about it, who really wants to be the poor guy? I mean, we see the end, so to speak. We see the end, okay? He's in the bosom of Abraham being comforted. But who of us still wants to opt to be the guy who has the dogs lick his wounds? Has nothing, is destitute. In other words, if that's the cost, we can't even bring ourselves to pay that. We can't even bring ourselves to put ourselves in that position. So that leaves us in a kind of quandary. Well, yeah, the poor guy is comforted, but who wants to be that poor? Who can even bring themselves to be that? Paul even understood this, right? About nourishing and cherishing your own. Whoever hated their own flesh, but he nourishes it and cherishes it. I think it's speaking of relationship with husbands and wives, but Paul is pointing that out. When you see your wife as your own flesh, then you begin to understand, okay, this is the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones. And so I can no more disdain her than I disdain myself. And the inclination is to comfort oneself, to be comfortable. And so it brings us to that place. Okay, well, maybe I don't think I can will myself to be covered with sores. I mean, not only a matter of making it happen, but I don't even covered with sores, dogs licking them, hungry all the time, whatever, poor, destitute, cold. Can't manage that. But at least we can sometimes think, I'm not like the rich guy. I'm not as rich as the rich guy was. I mean, the rich guy was, he must have been filthy rich. And at least I'm not like that. So maybe I got a shot at it. Because I'm not like Lazarus, the poor beggar. Or am I? But I sure ain't like that rich, insensitive buffoon. No, not till I consider soberly how well I live. How, even in the world standards, how filthy rich I am. I'm not even talking spiritually. I'm just talking by the world standards, the whole of the world. I'm probably a 1%er or something like that. But we tend not to like to think that way. We like to think I'm the average Joe. I'm not really very much above anybody at all. And there are people that probably walk 3 miles a day to get fresh water. I walk 10 feet to my bathroom or my kitchen. So that becomes like, I find something. What hope do I have, right? What hope do I have? I am the filthy rich guy. I am. It's kind of like the disciples, Jesus says, if your brother offends you, he comes to you and he asks forgiveness and forgive him. And they say, well, how many times we got to do that, And the Lord says, 70 times 7. And I think it's at that point the disciples said, who then can be saved, right? Who then can be saved? This brother offends you. He says, oh, I'm sorry he offends you again. Oh, I'm sorry he offends you again. Oh, I'm sorry. Just, like, you're thinking, I think I see a pattern here. Maybe it would be wise if I didn't forgive him. Yeah, we could be tempted to that. God knows I've been very discerning of me, I sense this is a so-and-so or whatever, rather than just, oh, mercy, Lord, mercy, Lord, mercy. So I was thinking about that, how it drives us, doesn't it? It drives us to cry out. Cry out. Because if you got to be that poor beggar, I at least physically, experientially, in this life, I don't qualify. I haven't had dogs licking my sores. I haven't been laid at the gate, begging. And if that's what it takes to avoid the other place, and be received, there better be something better. And of course, it's the faith of the Son of God that we can never be destitute enough. We can never even bring ourselves to that. We just are. We just are. We're destitute of ourselves. And the faith that is given, even the faith we cry out for, Lord, show me the way. Show me the way that, because I can't do this and I can't do that. And so that faith shows us. And then it even brings us to see, yeah, we are destitute. We are that beggar. And it's not the victim. We're not the victim. That's not it. But before God, all are. Before God, to see our true condition as those who needed a plea of mercy for them because they didn't know what they were doing. And how precious it's becoming to me, and a relief as well when I thought it was very important that I know everything I'm doing and make sure all my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted, and then thinking that was the necessity, that I could somehow accomplish it. Did I somehow put my mind to it enough that, oh yeah, I was sure this is the sufficiency. This is the giving out of what's necessary. I have no idea. I often would like to pretend I do. But thanks be to God, Paul said in that one place, having the same spirit of faith we speak. And even Paul, the Apostle Paul, the man quoted from 1 million pulpits in 1 million locations every Sunday. And for years, thousands of years, has been so. Came to that place where he said, and I think I too have the Spirit of God, or I believe I too have the Spirit of God. Interesting, isn't it? Bless you.